Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Xah Talk Show. What episode is this? Episode 698. Now if you are watching this offline, play at 1.5 speed minimum. If you are watching live, say hi. Love to see your comments. Okay, so here is your chat box. So we are going to talk about Emacs Lisp, define-var-keymap, and define-keymap. So this is gonna be very technical for those of you Emacs users. For the rest of you, it's going to be boring. But I'm going to do a live stream anyway. It's probably not gonna be many watchers because this is, when you talk about computer science or esoteric stuff, like not too popular, the audience shrinks by a magnitude. Okay, now let's check one last time. Video check, audio check. I'm using red light. If you have noticed, red light is good for your eyes. So I recommend it. After 9 o'clock, turn on red light. Get some red bulbs. It's good for your eyes. It's soothing. Okay, and hello, Tamid. Okay, so we're gonna talk about it. Let's begin to talk about this. Today's thumbnail is brought to you by the 4chan people, GNU Pepe. This is beautiful. I love it. I love this artwork. Okay. So we're gonna start to talk about define-keymap. So let me introduce you. What we are doing, what that is. So in Emacs, which is a fantastic text editor, which is what I'm using. Okay, it's for programmers and for writers. Amazing. Cut and do, so you can show in browser. So anyway, so in Emacs, search for Xah Emacs tutorial on xahli.info. You will find it. Okay, so you go to the key section. So Emacs has thousands of keyboard shortcuts by default, and you can find it. Actually, I have an article, 1000 default key binding, and you got the meta key from the Lisp keyboard, and so on. Okay, so so let's copy that, showing browser, and let's just paste the link here. So because we talked about it, Linkify. So there it is, 1000 default key bindings. But let's go back. So Emacs keys. This section will tell you everything you need to know about defining keys. Okay. So how do you do it? So there, define key introduction page, and you can read about it. Okay. But what I want to do is, so in Emacs 29, they introduced a whole set of functions to define key, which are superior. Okay, so define key, so you can read about it. It's all detailed here. But let me just jump to the parts that talks about that. Okay, so you click on define key, then you scroll down. You'll have the Emacs change keys topic box. So this link, Emacs keys, key binding functions, Emacs 29 change. So in Emacs 29, which is released in 2023, 2 years ago, they added a complete new set of commands for defining keys. So on the left-hand side is the new commands. On the right-hand side is the old corresponding commands. So for example, the old command is define key, but now the new one is keymap set. Okay. Now another old command, global set key, that is, let's say if you want to have F4 to be copied to do Control C. Actually in Emacs it's some other key. It's a meta W. Anyway, so in the old command, global set key, that lets you set up a keyboard shortcut in the Windows jargon. But the new command is keymap global set. Okay, so Emacs 29 introduced a set of them. So they all start with keymap dash something. And they are better because they are better. Okay, so for example, here is Emacs 29. This is a new one, keymap global set. Then a string that represents a key, in this case Control T. Then the command you want it to be white space mode. Okay, so when you press, so if you run this, Control T will turn on white space mode, which means, let me show you. You see, they show, you see, when you have a lot of white spaces, now they show up as dots. Can you see that? So now if I turn off white space mode, press, you see, normally you don't see them, but in some cases, like when you code in a programming language that you need to know the difference between a tab and the space. You cannot tell right now. You cannot tell what they are. But if I turn on white space mode, which I have the key, that. So you can see the tab, you got a triangle for a tab there. So anyway, back to the key binding. So when you run this command, then Control T will call that. So this is a new syntax. The old syntax is using global set key. Then the keyboard shortcut, you need to call the function key kbd. Then, so it's pretty similar. It's actually alike, but the new one is much better. Okay, so that's the Emacs changes. Now this is Emacs 29, 2 years ago. So, as time, the one thing about software updates, every year they update. Software always updates. So when it's 5 years old, they eventually become obsolete. So this is new, just 2 years ago. You may not want to change your code yet, because if you change it, then many people are not yet on Emacs 29. Then they will say, oh, how come this doesn't work? So software update is gradual. Like your Windows, are you using Windows 7? Are you using Windows Vista? Or are you using Windows 2000? Same thing on the Mac, same thing on the Linux. They update every year. And so the updates are gradual to allow people who have like 5 years old computers to be still functional. But however, it is an inevitability for the change. Okay, so today, in 5 years, in 10 years, this old, there will be like not many people using these old ones, relying usually because of the younger generation. So for me, an old man, I'm used to the old ones. So the old commands are there for 30 years, 40 years. But inevitably, the new ones will come and replace the old. Okay, so I'm starting to, since I'm a professional, developing Emacs and doing Emacs tutorials for you guys. So I need to adapt the new one sooner or later. Okay, so let's turn off the white space mode off. Press. Okay, on the pink window you can see all my command call names and their keystroke. For example, you can see white space mode and keystroke on the left, which is backspace, which is this key on my left hand thumb, backspace and space. That's Xah keyboard layout. And I'm using Xah keys. Okay, the most efficient key binding, more efficient than Vim or NeoVim. The most efficient in the universe. To do the same thing, you require less number of keystrokes, and you don't need to hold Control and Alt stuff. Okay, so you can watch, this is my homepage, Xah keys, key binding system, and there are like 20 or 30 videos about it. Okay, so let's go back to key binding. So introduction, so close that, copy that, close that. Xah Talk Show, go there, show in browser, Emacs keys, close that. So let's just paste. I want to paste the links of the things we talked about. So show in browser, there. Okay, so the changes. So you see, and there are more changes. Okay, so one of the two new commands is define-keymap and define-var-keymap. Okay, and so I need to change my command to use the new command. Okay, so let's go to my packages. So again, this is something I need to do because I'm a Emacs dev. I'm writing Emacs Lisp code every day for the past 20 years. So let's go to CSS. Let's see, CSS mode. So CSS mode, if you don't know, okay, so let's go back here, showing browser. Okay, go to the top. You can see there is CSS. Open it. This is CSS for xahli.info, my website. So go to the top, you can see, and go to the bottom. There are 800 lines of code. Okay, so press tab and help and show all key bindings. So I got complete symbol, format buffer. So you got these commands and these keys to do them. So let's say I want to do format buffer. Okay, so let me show you fantastic command. So you see this, let's say this body part. This body part everyone should understand if you know CSS. If you don't know CSS, search for Visual CSS or CSS tutorial on xahli.info, my website. So my website, xahli.info, then you scroll down, you'll see Visual CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. So that controls color, controls the shape, controls the layout. That's a CSS. So you are looking at, so copy that, go back here, Xah Talk Show, and go back here, paste the link, CSS, there. Okay, go back here and go to the top and open the CSS file. So we are back to the CSS file. Okay, so you can see the directory here. Okay, so here is a block of code, body, right? So if I'm not gonna demo CSS, but let's say I press a key, they become one line. Okay, still functional, valid. Now, if I want to format, let's say, let's make them all one line. Okay. Now, if I save it. Now I want to format the whole buffer, so I press tab, press F. Fantastic! You see the entire buffer, entire file got pretty printed. You see the body becomes like that. Do it again. Format it. Fantastic. You see. So that's tab F. So let's say describe key, tab F, that tells me what does this key do. So tab F will call the command Xah CSS format buffer, and that command is defined in this file and has the key tab F. So you go to the file, enter. So here's the source code. And this code actually, it's like 30 lines, but it actually requires deno. It calls the deno JavaScript. Okay, CSS, God, spend all the time talking about that. Okay, save it, close. So what did I want to do? Okay, so open it, describe key, tab F, then jump to the source code of CSS file. Now go to the directory. You can see the Xah CSS mode. So now in this file, this is the Emacs Lisp package. There is, of course, key binding defined. So let me show you. The key binding, okay? So you can see here. So define var CSS mode map, that's a key map. That's a set of keys. You declare a variable. Then you create, in this block of code, you create a new key map, make sparse key map. Then you define a new prefix command Xah CSS leader map. Then for each, then you call define key, means you want to define key in this Xah CSS mode map. Okay, so let me explain this line. Okay, so you define key for this key map and with this key space, and what it do is call this command CSS complete symbol. Okay, so anyway, the point is that these two okay, this block of code is for defining keyboard shortcuts. Like we demonstrated tab F, you see, that's the F. And where's the tab? The tab is right here, you see. You can define a leader key. So you see, if the leader key exists, then use that. Otherwise, just use tab. So that's my Xah Emacs system. You can buy it, by the way, for $100, because for 15 years they are all free, but I die of hunger. Okay, so let's, okay, so let me show you. Okay, here is the homepage of Xah CSS mode. You can search it, you'll find it. Then go one level above, click on that, so you can see all my Emacs Lisp packages. Okay, so my point is that, so let's go to the key map. Okay, so yeah, so what I'm saying is that for each one of these Emacs Lisp packages I have written, they have this key map block. Okay, so, and this, they are using the old command. For example, this define key. So let's go back here. Let's go back to the, to the difference. You see, the old one is define key. The new one is key map set. And so I want to start to use a new one. So let's start to change it. Okay. So first of all, okay, so make a backup. So is this boring enough for you guys? Superiority. Okay. So yeah, I want to make a, so first of all, you got so this is just this is me start to do code. Xah Talk Show. Okay, Xah Talk Show today. You have define key map and define var. Copy them, make a backup, paste them here so that I can see. And okay, so you want to start to define them. First of all, define key map, define var-keymap. So instead of these two blocks, I can now, let's prettify them. Okay, instead of this two block, I can do the whole thing with this new command. Okay, so let's do it. Oh, I don't have the key, I don't have the template. Okay, so because this is so pretty new, so describe function to look at the documentation first. Okay. Oh God, so so it's got some new syntax, so I need to read them. God, this is getting boring. So do you guys know what I'm doing? You see, close that. Okay, so this whole block is gonna be replaced by this command, and it should be simpler. Okay, but how do you do it though? You see, here's the part that when you need to use your brain to read the documentation. Define var-keymap variable name, then key. What is that key for? I don't understand. Doc full parent suppress name prefix keymap repeat and the rest. Okay, I don't know how is this used. Okay, so look at define keymap first. Define keymap, key, full paren, suppress, name, prefix, something, something, rest. Okay, so who's giving me the hearts? Thank you. YT space text primary inverse. What does that mean? Hello, Sarah Kumar. Okay, so you see, I'm doing this live stream because, this is something actually I need to do. I can either do it offline, which I've been doing, all the time. But sometimes I do it, live stream, so that while I'm doing it for something I need to do, meanwhile I talk to you guys. That's what this is about, okay? So this close. Okay, so let's just do this, okay? So what we do, we want to look for example, instead of reading this abstract technical documentation, you have to think about, like, what do you mean? What is this, Let's look at the example. Okay, so close that. So copy define-var-keymap. Actually, what's the other one? So this one is actually simpler, okay? So put that there. Let's put that there. Okay, define-keymap, copy it. Now let's look up the documentation for the add something in Emacs, okay? Jump to the source code. Here's a directory, okay? Now in this directory, let's search for define-keymap, okay? So that so let's search it. Search the entire Emacs Lisp source code. So it'll show us if any of this file is using it. If it is, then we can check out how they are doing it and copy and paste. Okay, it's running. Wait, okay, so there is a result. So lots of programs are using it, okay? So let's see. Let's open it. Okay, so actually lots of it. So let's see what files. So all these files, not many, are using the new keymap commands, okay? All these files, which is not many because you don't have to change them. It's not necessary, but it's for forward, for the future. So anyway, so let's close that. Let's look at, is there and here is another example, but now it's using macros. So this is not a good example for us, okay? Let's go to the next one. This is about processing images. Okay. Oh, okay. So you can see how simple that is. Okay, so this seems very simple. Copy it. And go back. Let's go back to our code. Auto load. Close. Yeah. So let's So here is kind of an example how they defined it. Now from this, actually, I can figure it out. Let's see, map into dark paren image slice map. Okay, so it's using a paren. And what is this? I define-keymap. So how many people are watching? 8. say something, guys. So okay, so define var-keymap. Okay, so let's look at the documentation again. So what is this? So the documentation says you need that variable name. So let's start to do it. Okay, let's just start to do it. Okay, instead of just so we want to define a keymap that, okay, variable name will be that, and this key, I don't understand what is this key for. Oh, those are keyword arguments. Okay, so I think that key means keyword arguments, like that. Okay, is that correct? Oh God. Let's see. Define variable name as a variable with a keymap definition, okay? C, define keymap. Oh, let's go there first. Wait, what's going on? Define var. Oh, actually, wait. So this part is simpler. Let's do that first. Okay. Okay, so define keymap. Oh, wait. Okay, so keymap is just for keymap. You need the var. Okay, so so you still need the var. So is it boring? So here's the name. Then map put into text properties on images. What? That doesn't make sense. What? Okay, but we starting somewhere. Okay, so it's just, so define keymap is just the pairs. Okay, you see, just pairs. So what we can do is okay, so what we can do is, so wait, so define keymap. Let's see the documentation. Define keymap, key full parent suppress name prefix. God, why is this so complex? Oh, okay, so this, you see, this full parent suppress name prefix keymap, those are keyword arguments documented here. You see, full suppress parent keymap name, those are keyword arguments. So that's what this means. This is a new convention actually. Then rest. Okay, this is complicated, you know. So another way to look at how to do this is, let's look at the Emacs manual. Okay, so right now we are looking at the inline documentation. So search for the manual for the define keymap. There it is, showing browser. So here is the Emacs Lisp manual for all these. So there it is, define keymap. So it looks like pretty simple. Okay, just like the example we have. But you know, but the documentation, I don't understand why is it using confusing things. Yeah, it you know, it's the Emacs key binding system is quite involved. Okay, so you need to read them. Okay, define. Okay, so define keymap options, rest pairs. So this key, it seems like keyword parameters. You can create a keymap with the functions described above and then use keymap set for each one to specify key bindings in that map. When writing modes, however, you frequently have to bind a large number of keys at once. That's true. And using keymap set on them all can be tedious and error-prone. Instead, you can use define-keymap, which is this function, which creates a keymap and binds a number of keys in one shot. Here is a very basic example of that. Okay, so let's just go with the very basic example here. So, exactly just like that. So we need to convert. You see, but there's a complication because I have two keymaps here. One is that Xah CSS mode map, then the other one is Xah CSS leader map. The mode map defines a tab key. Then the leader map is whatever followed by the tab key. So in Xah CSS mode, you press tab key to begin any key. Then, tab space is one thing, is this, tab F is format, tab R is something else. Okay. So let's just see. Wait, this define keymap actually doesn't. Oh God, this is so confusing. So where is the name for the keymap? The name for the keymap is at the top. Okay. Yeah, I'm using the define prefix command. Oh shit. Okay, let's do this thing. Let's do brainless. Let's do something brainless. Okay, let me just show you. Okay, so remove all that. Okay, then delete, show the pink window. And yeah, so okay, so actually wait, so you actually don't want that. Okay, so you see this block correspond to this block. This is our brainless way to do it. Okay, let's just now remove that. Now this will be just tab, I believe. I think, I'm not too sure. So, and this will be the leader map. Define var, okay, something like that. And this leader keymap, okay. Parent will be that, okay. So that's one thing. I'm not sure actually. God. So this means I need to read more documentation, which means very boring. Okay, most people left. Okay, so yeah, let's keep going. Define key, so a bunch of keyword arguments. Okay, the rest in definition. Okay, infer type. Let's see more examples here. Okay. Okay, so let's see. So keymap, image slice map, And then in this example, okay, so sized images, define-var-keymap doc map put into text properties on images. So what is this? I don't know. So define var-keymap and then define keymap. So it defines a keymap. I don't understand what is that I for. Dark parent. Oh God, this is really. Should be a keymap to use as a parent. Okay, so maybe I should stop live stream. What do you guys think? So it's been 40 minutes, you know, so this is real life coding. Very boring. So what are some other examples? Let's see. Help functions. Okay, so you are looking at some other examples. What about this one? This one is from the ed, define-keymap. So define-keymap is basically a key map, okay, with some keys. Fireball data hand is so cool. Are you using it? Okay, close that. Let's go to. So define keymap. That's the usage. Okay, next, let's see. Okay. I just watched the video you were reviewing. Thank you. Yeah, so I need to get onto it. I haven't been using it. So define keymap. Let's see. Go back. Image speed. There another define keymap. Okay. Define keymap. So this keyword arguments really confusing. So let's look at another one. So what? Okay. Okay, I don't know. So we have by now looked at enough examples. Okay, so here's another example, pretty simple. Okay, so here it's defining key sequences. Yeah. Okay, so now go back. Let's see what. Okay, then GNUs. Okay. 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 So I think we have looked at enough examples. Okay, close. Now this is an example. Notice the keyword argument, keymap. Okay, close. Close. Now here is a speed bar. So you see, they could have used define-var-keymap, but they didn't. Instead, they still used the old define-var. They could have combined these two together. Okay, so this one's got a keyword keymap. Okay, close that. Now this one is from diff mode, and okay, so it's using, let's see. Okay, so this one is using define-var-keymap. Okay, doc and escape, then this. Okay. Then here is shared map, define-var shared map. Okay, so this one, it just have these pairs directly. Interesting. You see, this is fairly confusing. You got one of them is define-var-keymap. Okay, the other one is define-keymap. Okay, there. So you got these two new functions. Now, the way I understand is that define-var is defining a variable. Then inside it, you can use define-keymap. But however, that is not necessarily true. You can directly define var-keymap and define your keys like here. Or you can move this into the define-keymap. Okay, so there is like flexible. Yeah, but but meanwhile it's fairly confusing. You see, it's confusing for more than one reason. One of the reasons it's confusing is that it's using these keyword arguments, which is not conventional in Emacs Lisp. In fact, Emacs Lisp do not have formal documentation for the keyword, using keyword arguments to define function parameters, keyword parameters. So, but this define-var-keymap is using this bunch of keyword arguments. Okay, that's one aspect. It's confusing. The other aspect it's confusing is because because of the documentation. So this key, I have not seen that documented anywhere. If you don't believe me, let's go to the GNU Emacs manual. So here we are looking at GNU Emacs manual. Okay, so let's go up. Okay, go up. So here's Emacs Lisp manual. Now, if you search for parameter, PARAM, window parameters, search frame parameters, okay, search, okay, so search, let's search for function. We want function parameters. Oh god, there's too many. Let's search for, let's see, let's search for defining a function, okay? Define images, define symbol, define global variable, defining function there. Okay, so you go there, defining a function. We want to know about the how do you define the arguments? REST parameters, how many arguments, and named parameters, also known as keyword parameters. So in this section, defining functions, section 13.4. So you got define. Okay, Emacs documentation needs a lot of improvement. It's very confusing here. So it didn't mention about the complexity of parameters. So it's in this section, features of argument lists. Yes. Okay. And blah blah blah, very wordy. Okay, so it talks about optional and REST. Meanwhile, if you read my tutorial, you'll see simple explanations. Okay, like simply tell you how do you define REST parameters and so on, or optional parameters. Okay, but anyway, the manual talks about optional and REST. So with the ampersand optional keyword, and ampersand REST, but where we are looking for the keyword parameter represented by ampersand key, it's not there. You see, if you go back here, you can see this ampersand key, full, paren, suppress, and so on, that represent keywords, full, suppress, paren, so on. But the Emacs Lisp manual does not mention anything about ampersand key. You see, these features of argument list. This is, Emacs Lisp manual is not very good because you see they're talking about features of argument list. That's a wording for this chapter, which is very idiotic. Because for most programming languages, you simply say, how do you define arguments to a function? How do you define the function's parameters? You typically have ordered parameters. Then you might have optional parameters. Then you have parameters with default value, which is optional parameters. Then you might have REST parameters, which is arbitrary number parameters. And then you also have something, depending on the language, you have keyword parameters, which is, you have a name and value. But you see, this section does not mention about it. Let's search for key. Include a keyword optional. No, that's not. There's none. Okay, so they didn't mention about the ampersand key in the official GNU Emacs manual for Emacs 30, which is what I'm using. But however, in this inline documentation for the define-keymap, it's showing that key. So let me clarify. So this define-keymap function is using keyword arguments, as you can see, documented by the inline documentation here. But however, this keyword arguments is not defined, is not talked about in the Emacs Lisp manual about defining functions. So that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this keyword argument typically start with a colon. They are kind of semi-standard in Emacs. They are not exactly described by the Emacs manual, but they are like in a limbo, half-assed. Some packages use it, some but vast majority don't. And there's no documentation for it, so they are in kind of like in a half-existent situation. So that's why I'm saying this define-keymap function is fairly confusing. So what I need to do is actually really go through the manual, reading this carefully, for half an hour. Like right now, I'm trying to do some trial and error, like right now here. So you can see it looks kind of right, but I cannot go. I don't want to run it. So, okay, so I think that's it for today. We start to explore. So basically the final form will be something like this, okay? So in summary, before it looks like that, but the new is something like that. In fact, this is not complete because I'm pretty sure this is not complete. So that's why I don't want to run it. So anyway, that's it for today. We explored this thing, okay? Any questions? Xah is back. Nighttime Xah. Yes, I haven't done a video at night for a long time. So that's why I'm thinking of doing it here. So I'm gonna chat for 5 minutes, and that's it for today. The thing about the timing of a live stream is that when you do, like normally I do at 12 o'clock noon, San Francisco time. But that means people in China and in India, they will not be able to see it. That's basically so 12 o'clock midnight, 12 o'clock noon, San Francisco time means, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning in China. Let's see, is that right? Yeah, it basically means something like 4 a.m. in the morning. So whenever I do some, 12 o'clock noon, Chinese people and Japanese people in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Singapore, the Far East, they won't be able to watch me live. I have sizable people over there watching me because I'm Chinese blood. So that's why now I'm doing one. I haven't done one at night for like a year or half a year. So now the East Asian, Chinese, Japanese, and people, and Indians, they can watch me live. But for Americans at this time, not many, because most people, one of the interesting facts about population in USA is that vast majority of people lives on the East Coast. Why? Because if you look at the map, it's very interesting geography issue, okay? Let's see. Let's use Google Map, okay? So you go to Google Maps, you go to Microsoft, okay, that's Mountain View, that's where I live, San Francisco, that's San Francisco, that's San Jose, this is California. So you shrink, you can see this is California over here, this block, and you shrink, then you see the entire USA. So you can see by the color on the right side it's green, on the left side it's yellow. Yellow means mountain. So that is why vast majority of people in USA actually lives on the East Coast. Okay, now let's go to satellite and show globe. Okay, so you can see on the west it's all mountains and deserts. So that's why most people lives on the East Coast. It's all green. New York, Maryland, West Virginia, and Virginia, East Virginia, Tennessee, So that means at this time, right now it's 11 p.m. California time. That means over there it's 2 a.m. New York, 2 a.m. So most people are sleeping. So that's why if I do a live stream right now, they are sleeping. So the Americans, they are much fewer people are able to watch. But meanwhile, this is when the China, this entire, the most people on Earth are in China and India. So there are like 8 billion people on Earth. And 2.5 billion of them are in China and India. Each one is 1 billion something. Okay, so at this time, so China is like, wait, do they have sunlight? Can you get it to show the sunlight? I haven't used, the fancy features. Can you get it to show sunlight? I don't think so. I forgot. Okay, but so anyway. You look so cool. Your website is amazing. Thank you. Could you tell us about your self-history? Well, I told that before. So you look for 2 or 3 years ago, or just search for my website. Like search for, just search for Xah Ep bio. You will find some information about that. I talked about that live stream 3 years ago or 4. ACP says, do keyword args just allow for unordered function args? Yes, unordered, and also with default values. So Xah Ep bio. Let's see what we find. Xah Ep bio. Xah Ep YouTube. Thy ears wants wit, thy wits wants edge and manners. That's my favorite quote. That's from Shakespeare. Okay, I talk random. So literature classics. This is on xahli.info. There's like 4,000 pages there. So literature classics, and then you go to Shakespeare. You go down. Where is it? Wait, Arabian Nights, Flatland, Time Machine, The Tragedy of Titus Andronicus. This one. Thy ears wants wit, thy wit wants manners and edge. So that's from this, my favorite Shakespeare. And LinkedIn, I haven't logged in for like 10 years. So they got my old, 10 years, 15 years old information there. I'm about as good as dead, 2014. So you'll find that, and that's when I'm about as good as dead. I was dying of hunger. Okay, so there's some ugly things you'll see. Not ugly, but not not very pretty stuff. Then, okay, Xah Ep profile contact. So you go there, and here is periodic dosage of Xah. That's on Leaf Journal. That's like 20 years ago. So Okay, and here's Patreon, where you can sponsor me, pay me, okay, if you like my stuff. Where is it? Patreon. Okay, so, and here is some spam and scam. some spam and scam site, like find out this guy's phone number, like there's lots of that site. Find out your ex-girlfriend or whatever, wife, or where does someone live, like something like that. And here Python list bang Xah Li, that's one of my I'm not sure what that is. That's one of my old email or something, old rant. Okay, so you can find, if you want to know about me, you can find a lot of information. And here's my page, Xah Li profile contact. I'm also on Twitter. And then you can see, many of these social media I don't use anymore. MSN is dead. Yahoo is dead. AOL instant message is dead. QQ is a China Twitter, but I think my account got banned because I was talking about politics. Facebook, I haven't logged in for like over 10 years. Skype is dead officially like a few years ago, 2 years ago or one. So yeah, and I haven't updated this page for a long time. Then you can check out photos of me. Then, anyway, all these are written like many years ago, 5-10 years ago. You professional programmer, on which language you code? Well, I'm kind of on and off. Okay, so I code a lot of languages. Lots of, okay. You probably new to me because programming languages is what I do. I have a lot of tutorials, so I can show you. But that's it for today, okay? So you go here, go Xah Li code, and you go to, lots of programming language tutorials. There's an index of them there, okay? How can we join Discord? Go to Xah Li, you'll find the Discord invite on my homepage, on my xahli.info. Okay, I think that's it. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. We shut down in 1 minute. Okay, so this we don't want. So we don't want this contaminate my. Okay, cut that. Go to the talk show. Yeah, today's talk show, and let's put the code here. Paste, pop it out. That's the code. Now put it back. Syntax correct. Showing browser. Okay, bye guys.